Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. This week Raid Shadow Legends did something very special. The game is 7 years old and in patch 11.00 they released a new game mode called Grim Forest, and this game mode is the best game mode there has so far been in Raid Shadow Legends. In fact, it's so good that it would even work as a separate game, and that's quite an impressive accomplishment from a 7-year-old game. So in this video I want to talk a little bit more about Grim Forest and what really makes it work. First, thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Raid has been sponsoring videos about the game on my channel recently, but I retain full editorial control about everything. So this Grim Forest thing is something that I really want to talk about myself. So Grim Forest is basically, it's a dungeon crawler built into Raid. So you're venturing into this new zone, this new area, and you uncover new paths, you uncover various enemies, you get ambushed, you find chests, you find altars, you find team improvements, all sorts of things. Well, there is this fog of war style fog that prevents you from seeing the whole picture. You don't know exactly what's going to be found where, but you explore this area, find all sorts of things and meet various challenges. And the Grim Forest experience begins by building your decks. You build 2 decks of 10 champions for normal and 2 decks of 20 champions for hard. And in Raid there's around 1000 champions nowadays, so you get to pick what you have leveled, what you have geared. So this makes you play with several combinations, because then you will get random selection of these champions in order to build your final team for each fight. You don't get to bring all of your favorites for every fight, and you have to think about, okay, so well, what kind of abilities do I want and what sort of champions do I bring that are replacements maybe for some of my favorites that can play a similar role. But this is more forgiving than some of the other raid content like Cursed City, for example. Cursed City limits your choices based on factions, so sometimes you're told that okay, you can only bring barbarians here, and well, if you don't happen to have any barbarians with specific abilities, well then that's too bad for you, then you maybe won't be able to complete those stages. But this one you get to choose, so you get to use your roster more than you do in various other things in Raid that are limited in some ways, but you still have these limitations. You still can't bring everything that you want for every fight. Because when you go into a specific fight after you have built your deck, you get the same number of champions from both of your decks to build your final team of 5. And the number of champions decreases as the difficulty increases. So when you go deeper in the forest, eventually you're going to get just maybe like 4 and 4, so total of 8 champions instead of like a total of 14 like I have here. So this means that early in the forest you get to pick basically the team that you would always choose anyway. Then you start to get into positions where you have to make do with various other champions, maybe ones that you don't use as often, and then you go in this sort of calculations, how do you optimize outcomes when there's these 2 connected decks and you want specific champion combinations. Which actually gets pretty interesting when you really get down to the math, because for example 4 champions in one deck, if you put all 4 champions in one deck, you have a better probability to find at least one of them. But if you have a group of 4 champions and you would like to have like the full team, for example, then by separating them between the 2 decks, then you get a better chance to get multiple of them, even though the chance to pick up even one is lower. So there are all these interesting compromises that you make, trying to pool some abilities so that you will find at least one champion that brings specific ability, and then trying to split something so that okay, I really would like to have these 3 together, then I optimize the odds by splitting them apart. And after you have built your deck, you're then thrown into the Grim Forest map and then you start exploring it. And this really reminds me of some old dungeon crawlers where you can go left or go right or go forward, and then the paths change and you have various options where you can go, and then there will be boss fights and you find improvements to your team. And then you have this fog that limits your visibility so that you can't see too far ahead, and then you try to explore it. And the team improvements are a mix of choice and then randomness, because you gain stat bonus cards. Then you're shown 3 random options and you get to choose one, so you have some agency. But you can't just freely do whatever you want. Stacking resistance might be the optimal way here, but for example on this account I haven't been able to find that much resistance so far. I have been able to stack quite a bit of accuracy though, so that's really been helping me. And then you find these curios that have unique effects, and you get a big pool of those, and then you can equip a certain number of them. So then you can also try to build different kinds of combinations of these abilities that improve your team. And you can unequip and equip them at any time, so you can even tweak them for specific boss fights. So there's a whole bunch of agency, but also some randomness in what sort of bonuses you're able to find for your team, and then you can direct based on those options that you find to try to find the best path. So as an overall strategy, you want to try to explore the map and maybe try to avoid some of the more difficult encounters at first while you get the improvements, and then you will be able to engage the more difficult bosses. Or if you meet a boss fight and you can't take it on, then you can try to find another path, another way, find more improvements, then come back to it and fight again later. And I have been super impressed by Grim Forest. Currently, well, I have been playing Raid for a while now. Currently, if I could choose, I would play just Grim Forest for the day. But I still have to do dailies and stuff to progress my account. So Grim Forest, it may be even in some ways held back by being part of Raid. It has all the makings of a separate game. Obviously, it helps that Raid already has this huge pool of champions that then you can bring into the game. But if you imagine that Grim Forest would be a separate game, that you would earn champions while playing it. Now, of course, you earn champions from Raid, and then you bring those champions into Grim Forest. So you need to do all the champion progression outside of Grim Forest and then just bring them in. But if it was a separate game, you could earn champions while you play this. And now also, because it's part of Raid, there's a daily progression limit. Everything in Raid has a daily limit, and you can still spend many hours playing Raid. You can almost play Raid 24/7 right now. There's so much to do in the game. But in Grim Forest, you can only explore 30 areas per day, and then every day you get another 30 currency, and then you can explore another 30 areas. So if it was a separate game, obviously it wouldn't have those limits, so then you could just explore and build your team, and maybe you could have this sort of meta progression between runs. Now the meta progression comes really from the fact that you gain these champions within Raid, and then you bring them into the Grim Forest. It is designed as a monthly experience, so you have 1 month to explore the forest piece by piece, and then it resets, and then there's going to be a new map. So also the map is going to be different every month. So every month you go in blind again, where is everything. And access to Grim Forest in Raid, that's only available when you reach level 55 for your account, and that's weeks of gameplay. So like if you're now excited, hey, this Grim Forest sounds really cool, I want to start playing Raid because I want to play Grim Forest, well, you don't really get to, because you need to get to 55 before you can play Grim Forest, and then you need to build your champions, and building a good champion collection takes even longer. So in some ways that's a bit of a bummer. You first have to already like Raid, and then Grim Forest comes on top of that. But for people who are already playing Raid, or people who might be interested in Raid but just haven't really gotten to it, haven't really fully gotten to it, haven't managed to download the game and start, then this might be the thing, because this is the most interesting game mode Raid has released. It has the most decisions, it has the most things that you can do in this, and it's really good. I have enjoyed Grim Forest tremendously. And for existing Raid players, this is a wonderful new challenge, wonderful new game mode that really brings something brand new for this 7-year-old game. But indeed, you have to already enjoy Raid in order to play so far that you get to play Grim Forest 2, which is a bit of a bummer. That said, if you want to start Raid right now, then there's no better way to start than to use my link. I have this promotional link because I'm sponsored by Raid down below in the description there in the QR code. A new account that gives you Tagoar after tutorial, Venomage at 15, Uugo at 30, Deacon Armstrong at level 40. It gives you some wonderful champions. And then you can also use a new player code like DEMONSLAYER for Tholin Foulbeard or DESERTQUEEN for Tuhanarak to get another great champion. So you can get some of those star champions. But in order to go to Grim Forest, you need to have 20. So there's still going to be a long way from there. But anyway, this is a clear enhancement to Raid. It would be great if it was a little bit more accessible, because you already have to be in this Raid ecosystem to really enjoy it. But if you are playing Raid, then don't miss out on Grim Forest. It is a ton of fun. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.